Yo, hey guys, it's poppin'. Jacques Slade here, and this is a sneaker. Now, this video isn't about sneakers, but I figured I had to throw one in here or someone would troll in the comments about there not being a sneaker in this video. Now that we have that out of the way, let's talk about tech. So today, Microsoft revealed their line of products, and if you are a Windows user, you actually have some pretty cool tech dropping in October. Overall, there are 5 new devices, a few accessories, and some stickers that are surprisingly cool. Not a sentence I imagined I would be saying, but here we are. So let's start with the big items. A few of them are updates to existing product lines. We have the Surface Pro 8, the Surface Go 3, and the Surface Pro X. If we had to pick one from the bunch, the biggest and the best update would be to the Surface Pro 8. The processor has been updated to an 11th gen Intel Core processor. It now has 120 Hz display, which looks great, 16 hours of battery life, and it also has 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports, which is going to speed everything up. The display is 13 inches, and from a design standpoint, it now has smaller bezels, which I personally think is always a win with computers. The keyboard is new and features a small storage unit for the Surface Pen. And speaking of the keyboard, it's still that Alcantara material. I think that's what it's called. Either way, it feels great when you're resting your hands on it, and it's one of the best laptop materials out there in my opinion. Going back to the Surface Pen, the new one is called the Surface Slim Pen 2, long name, I get it. Anyway, it has a sharper tip, which should help with writing and drawing. And if you're on Windows 11, it will give you tactile feedback when writing on the screen when you're using the Surface Pro 8 or the Surface Laptop Studio, which we'll talk about in just a second. It will also charge when it's attached to those devices. We also saw Micro speak on the Surface Pro X, which now comes in Wi-Fi only version. Of course, you can still get the LTE version if that's your kink, but the Wi-Fi is a welcomed addition, mostly because it lowers the price point. The Surface Go 3 also got an update. It's now 60% faster and what Microsoft is calling an all-day battery life. Both the X and the Go 3 will have pin support, but they will not have the haptic feedback that you get on the other 2 devices. Okay, let's get to the big boy, the Surface Laptop Studio. When I saw it in person, I knew immediately that this is the one that I wanted. It's an update to the Surface Book, and it looks like it basically had a baby with a desktop Surface Studio. You no longer get a detachable tablet, but you do get a device specifically built for Windows 11 and the most powerful Surface device so far. At first glance, it looks a lot like a normal laptop, but once you open it up, you see a lot has changed. The top screen now orients into 3 different modes. Normal laptop mode for the desktop type experience, stage mode, which is really exactly what it says, a consumption sort of setup where the front screen can be moved over the keys. And finally, there is studio mode, which turns the entire laptop into a tablet and seems like something an artist, a student, or creative type would use when getting down to business. On one hand, the 3 modes should get you what you need in terms of usability, but I can also see someone wanting to customize that angle in stage mode. Not a deal breaker, definitely by any means, but just a thought when I was trying it out. And speaking of the screen, it looks really great. It's 14.4 inches with a 201 ppi, and of course it has 120 Hz display. You get the usual stuff like the camera and pin compatibility, but this one also lets you use the new Slim Pen 2 with the tactile feedback. For your connections, you get 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports and the magnetic Surface connector, which is great. Dolby Atmos support for the speakers, and Microsoft also included 2 studio microphones. The trackpad is nice, and it also features that haptic feedback and is the biggest yet and even more precise according to Microsoft. The size seems just right for me. I can't stand an oversized trackpad. That probably has to do more with my horrible typing form, but at least I'm owning up to it. Power-wise, this is a great step in the right direction. At the base, you can get a Core i5 processor with integrated graphics, a 256 gig hard drive, or you can take it up with an i7, an RTX 3050, 32 gigabytes of RAM, and 2 terabyte drives. Now, that's not necessarily a gaming beast, but definitely gameable and a good option for creatives. I've seen a few takes on the new shape because the fans are at the bottom and it almost looks like it's sitting on a pedestal, but I don't mind it. Not the cleanest design choice I've ever seen, but I'm happy that they utilized some of that space by making an area for the Surface Pen. Now, pricing is going to start at $15.99, so these aren't cheap, but that seems pretty in line with the past Surface Books that they're replacing, so, you know, you get what you get. And last but not least, we have the Surface Duo 2. I've kept my eye on these since they launched the original version, and this was my first time actually getting my hands on one of these. The upgraded 2 feels great in the hand. The concept of a folding phone is such a big part of the conversation right now, and I've been on the fence about it. For the Duo 2, it's less of a folding phone and more of a phone with two screens. It's rocking with a Snapdragon 888 processor, 5G, 8 gigabytes of RAM, and a slightly larger battery life than the original. They also added some thought into the camera situation, and it now comes with 3 on the rear and 1 on the front. You get a wide, ultra wide, and a 2-time telephoto lens, and of course on the back you have that normal camera bump that you see on just about every phone. It has a 90 hertz refresh rate, and the screens are OLED, which is nice. It'll ship with Android 11, which is a step in the right direction, and hopefully the brand plans to keep it up to par with most modern flagship phone with these updates. On the user experience side of things, the biggest update is that the right-hand screen is now the default, meaning you go one-handed when you flip it over, the right side is the main side. Now, having it in hand for a little bit at the event, you could tell that the software was still a little slow in changing orientations, but I'll have to give you a full review once I actually get it in hand for a longer period of time. I keep an Android device on deck as my second phone, and based on what I saw, it might be time to add the Duo to the mix. We'll just have to see how that goes. Pricing for the Duo 2 does start at $14.99, which is pretty expensive admittedly, but this is a second generation, and I hope to see that price come down in future iterations. Anyway, that's mostly it for the tech. They also revealed some sustainability efforts with their new Ocean Mouse, which is made of 20% reclaimed ocean plastic, and the coolest stickers I have seen in a long time to help people with accessibility issues. They have special grooves and hooks and flaps for those that need the extra sensitivity to find or locate things. They are legitimately cool sneakers, and I can see them being useful for more than just that community. And yeah, I think that's it. Everything's available for pre-order right now over on Microsoft's site. I just wanted to give you guys a quick overview. I'll have more once I get the devices in hand, so stay tuned for that. As always, I appreciate you guys. I'm Jacques Slade, and I'll see you soon. Peace.